Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute of the Phantasm. This is the podcast where we would never forget about our own mission to cover every minute of Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Almost got through there with that balls in that 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I am your other host, John Parker. And Niall, we're too young for this. We need time. We've taken on too much with this podcast.
I think 5 years into it, I think we're committed at this point, John.
No, too young. Too young.
Forget about it. Just people going to like download the latest episode who have just left this note, just like left with dad, too young, need time.
We should genuinely do that for April Fool's Day.
But yeah, we're also here with guests finishing off the week with us. Of course, Molly and Sean again.
Woo.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Fun time.
And yeah. Big minute, minute 36. Like one of the most iconic Batman scenes, particularly the end.
Huge.
Yeah, it's one of the big, huge. We're working on commission over here on this podcast as well. But minute 36. It opens with a butler bearing bad news, and it ends a minute later with a phantom coming face to face with fate. It's one of those really annoying minute cutoffs as well, though, because it's just at the cusp of the thing you're waiting for, and then it just cuts, and you're like, "Oh God damn it!" So,
I believe that's called edging.
yeah, this is with bat. Oh, you're getting the bat blue balls are back.
No.
But yeah, this is one of the most iconic images of Batman lore comes in this.
What, Batman returning from beneath the planet of the Apes?
Yeah, didn't have to blow this one up, thankfully. The Charlton Heston didn't know what he was doing down there. But, opening note I've got for this minute though, as Bruce is ascending, the ladder here is that in the novelization. They specify that he's wearing a sweatshirt from Hokkaido University. So apparently Bruce Wayne, like we always have spoken in the past about, like, oh, where did he get schooling? And there's various things like, oh, Princeton and here, there, and everywhere and stuff. And apparently, very specifically within the continuity of the animated series, he went to Hokkaido University. So
I wonder if he had like a part-time job while he was there. He could have worked, selling Mr. Sparkle.
Mr. Sparkle. Do we know, are bats the mascot of this university? Like the fighting bats?
I'm going to have to look that up right now, though, to see, just to make sure. That'd be crazy if it was.
I hope Japan do stuff like that. See, because over here we don't really do that. But when I went in Pakistan, I went to an American school, and so they did. So our thing was a cobra. I was like, yeah, I'm a cobra.
Let's see here. We've got a whale. The immediate thing on the website is that there's a whale and a rooster. So I don't know if they're very indecisive over in Hokkaido, I guess, maybe. But
I mean, if I put that together, it's kind of dirty.
Apparently their motto in English is "Boys, be ambitious." Which feels a bit dated these days, quite frankly. But maybe they just really want the alliteration, though. Even though it's in a different language, they're like, no, it has to be alliterative in English, at least. But no, one of their most notable alumni. There's a whole bunch of people, like
Bruce Wayne.
Of course, Bruce Wayne. We should really put that in the Wikipedia. Bruce Wayne came here. But a lot of apparently leading engineers in cloning. So Conway, obviously from Star Wars, went there.
Right. Okay. This has nothing to do with anything, but every time that character comes up, I have to just say it. Hang on, I have to lean back from the mic as well. Dad, Tonwi's here.
He was there, and then he graduated, I guess. But and yeah, the one that really took my attention was apparently a guy called Akira Afukubi. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. Apologies, but he was a very famous composer in Japan, and the kind of thing he'd be most known for doing is compose for the original Godzilla. Or Gojira, and he actually developed the Godzilla roar. That was him. So,
he's a hero then.
They bring that thing back time and time again. So he's just like that's his legacy. It's like one of these things you see all these big ballets and huge operas and stuff he wrote, and it's like, what's his legacy? Oh, he developed the roar for Godzilla. Probably a thing he did one afternoon in 10 minutes. There you go. That's what you're going to be remembered for the rest of the time.
Well, when genius strikes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And if it's that good, then you deserve to be remembered for that. Because it's a difficult thing. Like the Windows startup theme, they spent so much time and money and whatnot, and they got Brian Eno to come up with that. It's only like 3 notes or something, but they had to get it right. They needed a master at this kind of thing. Because I could play 3 notes and it would sound crap and you wouldn't remember it.
But also, yeah, we got Bruce now ascending out of the cave, and again too, like another little a tone of voice that Kevin Conroy's Batman and as Bruce Wayne never really adopted. He has a very tender, vulnerable kind of way. It's like, Alfred, what's wrong? He is literally a new man since his engagement.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, there's much more lighthearted, fancy-free, all that.
That's why Alfred wants her to stick around, because he's like, it's fixed him.
Yeah, although he has to be the guy then. But the real pain in the ass for Alfred is that he has to be the one to come down and be like, okay, like. It's got that thing too. He's not done the I would say the Irish mum thing of doing. I think it's probably mums all around the world though. Or like, oh, you got some post, and then just hand you an open envelope. You're like, what the hell?
I wondered if Alfred had read the note before handing it over.
Oh, I'm just positive that he did.
He's a master at resealing.
I mean, they make a joke about it in The Dark Knight at the end, where like Rachel Dawes is giving her kind of Dear John letter to Bruce Wayne, and like he's like, "I'll give it to Bruce when the time is right," and he's like, "How will I know when the time's right?" And she's like, "I didn't seal the envelope." It's a little. The Dark Knight does have jokes, and so it's an indication. It's like, I know you're going to read the letter, so just of course, I didn't even bother sealing it because I know you're going to notice and do it anyway. Although to be fair, though, maybe Alfred just is a master of deduction here. She's like, well. It's a ring-shaped box, and it just has a note on it, and you just got engaged. So this is probably a good indication of where this is going.
I was worried, though, because before you saw the box, and he said, "Oh, Alfred, what's wrong?" I thought, he's not dying again, is he? I can't put up with that another time.
No.
It's my McGregor syndrome again. So.
Yeah, it's come back.
I technically won't have it for another 4 years in the continuity of the films, but...
Oh, no, I was like, oh, Jesus, not again. But thank God it wasn't that. It's just the love of Bruce's life, getting rid of him.
You're getting so cynical about like the fact, even though this is a flashback and we see Alfred in the future, it's like, this asshole's not dying again, is he?
Well, yeah, I thought he was going to reveal he's got some illness that he's still living with in the present, and you could drop dead any second.
Yes, I'm going to drop dead, sir, so you have to leave your fiancé, of course.
Of course, yes.
And yeah, this is all like it's just an incredibly well done sequence, though. To be fair, like all joking aside, this is really heartbreaking. This whole minute is just like, oh my god, but this poor multi-millionaire, I feel genuinely really bad for him.
Don't feel bad for him.
but yeah, so gets handed this letter. Love the animation in just a little detailing to do of like when he pulls the note off. They kind of like stretched the paper a little bit. There's a little, you can tell he's kind of struggling with the give of the sellotape on it. They didn't need to do that, but they did. So it's like I like it as a little touch.
It's those little things that make it, really.
Yeah. And I love the anticipation of, like, everything about... Because this is, like, occasionally... Because I'm, self-employed, and occasionally I've had to do, like... through no fault of my own, I had to go through, like, a tax audit a couple of years ago, and it was a nightmare. And so every time now I get a letter from the tax office, I have this moment up in like, what is this? What the hell is this? Walking around going like you're almost scared to open the thing. And there's a little moment here, Bruce like ruffling his hair, looking at the box, and then like you can tell he doesn't want to open it because he's just like
because he knows what's in there.
Yeah, he knows that now this is literally everything's about to come crashing down, and very very well done.
I was, but with my first viewing, I was very suspicious though, because the timing of it coming back. And the way it's written, because she goes, left with dad, too young, need time, forget about me.
Couldn't even be bothered to write full sentences. What an asshole.
Exactly, right? So I, on my first viewing, was like, I think her dad has written that. Because she seemed so happy at the proposal.
You see at the top, there's like from the desk of Carl Beaumont.
Wait a minute. No, I thought, he's like sort of kidnapped his own daughter. He's dragged her away to Europe with him.
This is at the bottom, like, regards, Carl, scratched out, and Andrea written.
Andrea. Honestly, in brackets.
I mean, it could be. He's like, I'm moving this along. She's him and hawing about writing this note. I'll go and do it. It's like, what should I say, Daddy? He's like, give me that paper. Too young. Need time. Forget about me.
That'll do. That sounds like her, right?
Yeah. Although I was thinking, though, when you see the note marked Bruce, the little scribble underneath looks like a T. I was like, maybe this is for Bruce Timm, the director of the movie. Like, it got sent to the wrong damn house.
It's the wrong Bruce.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, speaking of delivery, I'm like, was this delivered like to the the crack in the earth where Alfred's waiting for Bruce to return?
It was in the special delivery instructions you can input now on websites. Like please go to the crack at the back of the house.
Maybe Andrea found like a homing bat. Out of all the millions that flew out, she's like, "Oh, this one's like I just attach a box to its leg and it'll fly back for me."
I maybe think she popped it on the doorstep, rang the bell, and ran away.
Several days ago, she's actually deep in Europe already.
Yeah. They've only just found it. Like, oh God.
It was much like in Batman and Robin, where like the doorbell rings when Alfred has McGregor syndrome, and it's just like George Clooney going, "Alfred, Alfred," and I'm like, "What? Why isn't anybody answering the door?"
A billionaire can't answer their own door.
It's like, you're right by it. You and Dick are right beside it. Answer the door, you asshole. No. But yeah. Just, again, though, we're complimenting, most things about this movie. Ad nauseum. And I'll do it again.
What?
Because even though I'm assuming Andrea has written much more of a detailed note. He's just now kind of giving us the gist of it. Like the highlights, of what he's getting.
The bullet points.
Yeah. That was the thing. It's like, Bruce, I don't have a lot of time, so bullet one. Left with Dad. Bullet two. Need time.
I just want to read it all out loud in front of Alfred. There's some personal stuff there where she's talking about how much she liked it on the lawn.
Oh!
I think Alfred's like, I did read the letter, sir. Can I keep that?
Oh, no.
We did watch them fooling around on the, outside on the lawn.
Ran in to get his camcorder.
Well.
References to a giant crack.
Yeah, see. But Bruce does something that he absolutely should not be doing. But I understand why. Because this has broken him. He's heartbroken, and he stuffs it deep within, doesn't he? You can see him almost swallowing this thing and burying it deep inside. And he screws the note up, and it's like, it's just going to make him 100 times worse.
Well, this is a major difference in both the screenplay and the novelization. And we've seen why they would change this, because it ended up being used in a different project, and everybody hated it. Because originally scripted, Bruce does this and then puts his head up and lets out a giant no.
Yeah, I wrote that he goes full Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. It's in the novelization too. They're like, yeah, he does the no, and I think maybe either they did it and they're like, doesn't track, just looks silly, or it's just a character moment of like, well, no, he wouldn't do that. But Batman isn't a guy who roars out like in pain. He's very much like he uses it all.
Yeah, only Darth Vader does that.
Only his new powers can do that.
In the script, they actually describe it as a classical Greek theatre earth cry.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. I like that. Yeah.
But no, this is again. It's just so well done. And everything about like throughout the rest of the minute as well is particularly the music. It's the emotion of Kevin Conroy's delivery. It is just the anger in him scrunching up, and then the sort of like the head down, and it all. He is just all internalizing all this. The guy never dealt with his parents' death. He internalized it all, and now he's like, this is another the next worst thing that's happened since has happened, and now it's just like instead of letting it all out, he's just like it all goes inside, and then
just stuff that in there too.
Yep, stuffs it in there, and then that's all. Again, it's all part of the drive. That's now he's got the bat costume. The bat's now reminding him of his time with Andrea. That that anger. And all that, and then that kind of thing of like, yes, now I've been. This is all basically into like Bruce Wayne's big thing, is like over the season talk about like, oh, he's obviously a psychotic person because he's got whether it be some sort of schizophrenia or like anger issues or all of the above. It's really abandonment issues.
Yeah,
the guy just like his parents just left him very abruptly. Just he loved his parents, then they were just taken away from him. And now this version too is just like he gave his heart to somebody else. And then just as abruptly, she just went, see ya.
Yeah,
and so,
it's loss.
And that's why, as Batman, he's all like, again, even though he has Robin there, he does, but he's always very closed off from Dick. He's always really like, no, I am a loner. I am the knight. I'm this lonely guy. It's always just me. Even though Alfred's here, he doesn't give Alfred the time of day, even though he's basically his dad. It's all just like, no, I'm a loner. It's just me, like always and stuff.
I'm a rebel, Dottie.
Yeah, exactly. It's all.
He's a loner on a lonely road alone. Which is why he goes on to get engaged another 25 more times, as we discussed Monday. So,
no, he's a lone wolf from here on out now. Yeah. No more women.
But it all kind of ties in though as well, like within like they say the animated continuity where like his big flirtation is with Catwoman, and it is just like, well, this person. Her whole thing is that she's untrustworthy. She's a cat burglar, for Christ's sake. I mean, she can nip off, she can slink away at any time. So he's kind of like, well, she's really hot, and I do like her.
That's all that matters.
But
like, well, she is untrustworthy and pretty crazy. But on the other hand,
but he's also
she's pretty sexy. So
but it's also like I can't commit to this lady because I'll get hurt again, basically.
No.
And and then it's so. Just a moment for just like the music throughout the minute as well of just that I don't know how to describe it, but like as the camera's kind of going up and Bruce with his head down and it kind of has this very sad bit of violin playing.
It sounds like every single Japanese movie when they're having either a romantic or emotional moment. Every single Japanese score is this.
And then obviously Alfred in the background having an awkward moment to have been like, so. I'll put the tea on, I guess.
Well, he is English, and that basically, whenever anything happens to you in your life, someone will make you a cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's weird. You could you found out your parents have been shot in Crime Alley. Someone will be like, "I'll make you a cup of tea."
Yeah. Jim Gordon was the man there with that tea that night.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it gives the other person something to do. I think that's their thing. They're like, I'm doing something, and I'm being kind to you as well to let you know that someone's still here. But also, it's intensely awkward, and I need something to do. So here you go. Here's a cup of tea.
Is there an American version of that?
But I really appreciate it because it's allowing. I mean, I know that there's some cultural discussion about like repression of feelings or expression, but I also think that there's something to be said that you're allowing somebody grief and that I'm here for you, I care for you, this is a wet, cold environment, I'm going to make you something hot that you're going to take in. And so there is this, I think, my appreciation of it is like, I'm going to give you something, because I also live in a similar climate. And that's also, I think, being able to give somebody little funerals, like there's food, right? So we're going to like go ahead and eat a bunch of food. We're going to drink.
That always makes me laugh, but I love it at the same time, yeah. Because it's like you just buried like a close family member. Right, what's for lunch? Yeah.
Right.
just like particularly Irish wakes as well. Because I know my dad was saying like his he knows someone who like has family in England, and he was saying like, oh yeah, like, very elderly and died recently. Like the funeral will be in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And in Ireland, the funeral will be like in 2 days. Like they just instantly, as soon as somebody dies, they're just like boom, like everybody got out. The wake is happening now. This is now. That person, as soon as they died, this place became the wake.
That's
so
wild to me.
yeah, and people will instantly start rolling in looking for sandwiches and stuff, and they're just like, all right. And not even people that you know; they're just people here going, "I hear there's a wake up, and I'm here for the sandwiches." So.
No.
Oh, that's amazing! Holy crap!
Yeah, and then it is shocking. It's just like 2 days later, they're just like, "Well, that's that over with." So, like,
Who's dying next?
I did note also as well that this, of course, is presenting us with an origin for the Batcave in this continuity. But apparently, according to the guys over at the Watchtower Database, who are a great YouTube channel, but they are exhaustive with their timeline keeping of the Batman animated series. They point out that apparently Bruce Wayne actually discovered in continuity the Batcave when he was 6. They have been, and I looked up the comic too now because I got the DC Infinity. In Batman Adventures 35, there's actually a flashback to 6-year-old Bruce Wayne running in the garden chasing a rabbit, and the rabbit goes down a hole, and that hole is the Batcave.
Wait, he follows a white rabbit.
Yep.
And he falls down a hole.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Shockingly, the Mad Hatter is not the villain of the story, which seems to be like, well, obviously, if that's where you're going with it. No, that's not where they go with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a weird storyline as well. It's the storyline's called The Book of Memory by Kelly Puckett. And basically, it's that Hugo Strange can store memories in crystals, so he wipes Batman's mind, puts his memories in crystals. Catwoman steals the crystals. Batman's going around now as Catwoman's partner, because she's just like, oh, now I got a Batman I can control. Dresses him up in her outfit. So it's Batman going around in Catwoman's outfit, like the gray.
So getting a bit of drag.
It is. It's getting very kinky. It's just really going. Now he's wearing my. It looks even sexier than his Batman outfit. And then eventually this whole thing. Alfred deduces, because Robin encounters Batman, and he's just like, he seems like has he got amnesia? And Alfred realizes like, no, he's got the mind of a 7-year-old.
Oh no!
Because they took away all his memories up until going back until he was 7, and they stopped there.
And they're dressing him like that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very, very weird.
Oh.
And it ends then. Well, like, obviously Batman gets the crystal back and like installs it, and he has his memories back. But before he does that, he says to Catwoman, like, "I will never, ever, ever forgive you for this." And then Catwoman.
But he keeps wearing the outfit though.
No, tragically not.
Oh no, I think he did keep wearing. He said to Alfred, like, no, as we've discussed, it's strictly a comfort thing.
Well, at the end, then he comes back and he's just like, okay, since I reinstalled my memories, I don't remember what happened since I lost my memories. So he doesn't remember. So he's just like, Catwoman comes back basically begging forgiveness, and he's like, I don't remember what happened. So what the hell? What are you even talking about? And she's like, oh, thank
genius!
God.
She's got away with it.
Although it could be he's just like, no, I'm just saying that because I want to keep that cat outfit that you gave me, and it's down there in the cave for when I'm down there by myself.
Well, let me tell you, it's not a comfortable outfit.
Particularly when you're built like Batman. Like, Jesus Christ, the guy's friggin', he's like a tank as well, this Bruce. So.
Are you saying I'm not?
I'm saying you're of a more svelte build, John, compared to Muscle Man here with his beaten tires with sledgehammers and all the working out that is.
I like to think I look like Batman.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to shatter that illusion on air while we're here.
In saying that, you already have.
But yeah. So then we descend now into said Batcave. It's going
in the present again. We're jumping around. I feel like Marty McFly all over the place.
Well, no, we're a different part of the past, right?
Yeah, we're just a little bit less in the past than we are, but we're still...
Yeah, I said present, didn't I? No, it's not present, but it's not that past. Oh, Jesus Christ.
We're not in the past, we're just in the past, all right?
Past. I will say I did not appreciate the importance of this exact scene until the second viewing. That this is not just another another instance of Bruce Wayne donning the outfit of the Batman. Like this is the first time.
This
right?
is the one. This is the first.
This is the one. Yeah.
This is why this is like if you. Most of the time, you even just Google Batman the animated series in general, they'll always show you this picture of Bruce standing with the mask and stuff.
Yeah.
It's,
That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. You also, people might be a bit familiar with it because it might have been used in their logo this season. Just in case anyone's wondering what that's about. But,
Oh, well, which you'll be able to buy merch of if you go to TeePublic.
Yeah.
But I like that they don't draw too much attention to the fact it's the first time. Because any other movie, you could have a big conversation with Alfred, about it. It'd be like, oh, that's lame. But this is just like, it's trusting you to just pay attention.
Well, I think the silence says 1,000 words, really, doesn't it? It's just like this. It's cutting from this moment to the picture of the parents, as if it's just like the old Wayne family portrait, with the vibe of like this is all that's left. Like you can't have Andrea. His way out is gone, so it's all back to like the vow to his parents.
It almost feels like reluctant, like, well, I guess I've got to be Batman then.
It is, yeah. That's 100% what it is. It is just like there's nothing left for me. This is all of it.
I bought the domain.
Maybe I don't want to waste
do it now.
Yeah.
Both .com and .net. I mean, come on.
Oh, splashing out.
Well, he is Bruce Wayne.
Well, yeah.
World's greatest detective. You get engaged. She basically throws this ring back like it's hot potato, and it's forget about me. And he doesn't want to like call her or anything. I mean, it's basically got like a Dear John haiku, and he's not like, gosh, I wonder what happened. 24 hours later, it's just like I'm not gonna pick up the phone or anything. It's just like,
what else do you need to know, Molly? Left with Dad. Too young. Need time. There you go.
That's another reason I thought it was suspicious. If you're this far into a relationship where someone's proposing to you, you don't say no by letter. At least you'd call. I mean, no, don't even call. Go round in person. I know she'd probably go, oh, well, it was too hard to do it in person. I don't care. Respect him.
I guess actually the whole circumstance we find out later on is that they literally had to leave overnight to flee Valestra. So I guess she would have had to like quickly pay a courier to return this ring. Like, because it would have been like, oh, Dad, we need to stop by Wayne Manor so we can get back this ring to the I'm assuming she probably wrote it like at the airport or something.
Or maybe they did drive past. They just like strapped it to a brick and threw it through the window.
Did you hear that, Alfred?
I'm just wondering, he's a billionaire and, there's money associated. There could have been a kidnapping or something. It just seems very, like, curt. It's just you don't want to follow up on that or anything. You don't want to, I don't know, go to her house, be like, hey, and he's just like, screw it. Let's put on the leather. Let's rock it out.
Even if she's being disrespectful, not coming around. As Bruce, you'd be like, no, hang on, we need to talk about this. I'll go see her.
I don't know if Bruce would be like that, though. I think he would be just like, okay, well, fine. Like, he is a master huffer. Like, he's a guy who throws a strop.
Yeah.
He's been throwing a strop for 30 years over his parents' death, basically. So he's like, all right, then I'll do this. But now I think, in many ways, it's almost like, oh, at least she returned the ring. It could have been like, she's just like, I'm ditching the hyphen and I'm keeping the ring. That kind of thing.
Oh no, you couldn't keep. I'm sure it has happened in real life, but she seemed like a good person. She wouldn't keep it.
Yeah. I think this is all, not to blame Andrea. This was all done under duress. Like it could have been like not so much her dad doing it in a shifty manner. It could have been that he was just like, she's like, I can't leave, Bruce, and he's just like grabbing a sheet of paper, going, no. We have to leave right now. It gets into it in a later minute, but they'll find us and they'll kill us both. So there is rationale behind what's going on here. But it's just all very sad.
Oh, it is. It is. I feel sad for both of them because neither of them want to separate. Really.
No, not at all. Again, though, you think she could have called Bruce from... I guess maybe then she's like, oh, you can't call him because... I wonder if the Balesters ever came around to Bruce's house to be like, do you know where they are? They're like, we know, like, we actively know that you were going out with this guy's daughter.
That's a good point. That would be the first place you'd look.
Yeah. Or they like...
Yeah, but give it like 48 hours. Like you can be in like, bumfuck Netherlands or whatever and like pick up a phone and be like, hey, I'm okay. Went down, right?
That is true. She very much did not ever consider the option of like, maybe she's like, I don't want to get him involved. Then maybe it'll endanger his life or whatever. But like, she could have rang like a month later and been like, so this is what's happened. We're currently, if you are a millionaire, if you want to come over and find me in Europe, I can do that for you. We can meet up somewhere. But,
we're in Europe.
But that's how you keep away from the Valestras, John. You keep it vague. You're in Denmark, he's in friggin' Finland. I don't know. Like,
Exactly, yeah. Oh, maybe always on the move. Always on the move.
it's like Andrea.
I just feel like it's super extreme. I don't know.
There is definitely like in real life, this should be a scenario of like she would eventually go and call him and be like, okay, this is what's happened. Don't panic. I'm okay, but this is why I had to leave and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's the forget about me. Like it's the real like no. It's just I almost feel like again too like. Even if her dad was like, "No, you were never to call that boy again," kind of thing.
Like she's not a grown woman.
Yeah, Andrea is a grown. She's a grown, forceful personality. She was like, "Oh, I'll call who the hell I want." Yeah. I think you're right in the money there, Molly. It is. Andrea has been a dick, but I've just been like, well, you could definitely contact him sometime down the line, unless you happen to know that the Valestras are always outside his house tapping the phones. Like, and they've got, friggin' like FBI level surveillance on him or something.
They could do. That's the only logical explanation, right?
I guess so. But then for how long? Like, when did they just go? Because we know they go to Arthur Reeves eventually. But like, did they never consider? Did Bruce Wayne never remember? Maybe he also got bricks on the door again. He's like, what the hell is that noise? Like, it's not another engagement ring coming back, is it?
There's just loads of them.
This is another random brick, sir. I'm busy building a Batcave now.
Have you?
Or maybe there was constant like windows getting broken, but he's just too busy down in the Batcave, and he came up and was like, "Huh, was that window always broken? Is another bat fly in here? What happened?" No. But yeah, the descent into the cave with a great. We never really talked about like what the leitmotifs are in terms of the music, because like there are. The very distinctive to this film, not introduced elsewhere in the series or anything. There's like the love theme, which is that great piece of music, and then there's this thing, which I'm assuming is just like the Bruce Wayne theme. It's not the Batman theme, but this like only really plays when Bruce is in play. Like, never went back. I think at the very end, like, when everything's falling apart, you hear it again. But, like, only ever really played when Bruce is about to become Batman. And then, obviously, there's a transition that happens at the end of this very minute where it kicks into the Batman theme. But it always has a kind of sad vibe to it. It has a real plodding kind of, like, march towards the grave almost vibe of it. It's got a real funereal kind of... It kind of reminds me a bit of, I would mostly call it the music from the start of A Clockwork Orange, but I think the actual title is Music for the Funeral of Queen Mary.
Yes, it is actually, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I looked it up recently.
It's got that, that's what if everyone remembers the opening scene of Clockwork Orange, there's a synth version of it, but like it's an actual classical piece, written for the funeral of Queen Mary. But it has the same kind of it's the same vibe and the same kind of instrumentation and stuff. It's really got a kind of. I wouldn't be surprised if Shirley Walker was like, I was riffing on that exactly.
Was that the one they played at Queen Elizabeth II's funeral as well? There was some amazing musical piece on that funeral. I was like, what? It kept me watching, even though I'm completely against the royals. I ended up watching loads of it because the music was so good. I was like, what?
And then you're like, I gotta tune in for this coronation. Who's playing? The Katy Perry. What? Katy Perry.
God damn it.
Is Katy Perry playing music for the funeral of Queen Mary?
Yeah. It's her interpretation of all these classics. Yeah.
That really was, though, because I know they had a whole big problem with trying to get people to play for Charles' coronation.
Yeah, I wonder why.
And that was the real, like, oh my god, the bottom of the barrel has been scraped. They're just like, this is all we got. Katy Perry.
It's Linkin Park.
Linkin Park I would take. But...
Yeah. You know what, though? we're all quite happy that it's happening because we get a day off work.
Oh.
See, we're happy. I know a guy who's well, me and John both know a guy who's a head chef in a major restaurant in town.
He will not get
and May's already riddled with bank holidays. Now they've added 2 more. He hates all of this. Plus, the Eurovision is coming to Liverpool this month. He is basically...
Oh, no.
He's ready to jump off a roof, knowing how much he's going to have to work and how intense these shifts are going to be. But, like...
Oh, that's going to be bad. Yeah, and especially because... I'm not saying this because he's our friend, but it's a very, very well-regarded restaurant as well. So they got a lot of people on any day.
It's also his birthday this same month, and I was saying to him earlier, like, "Are you doing anything for it?" And he's like, "No, I'm just trying to barrel through this month as fast as I can." Yeah, I have no plans for the birthday. I'm just getting through the month of May because it's going to be hell.
Bless him.
Yeah, I'll say this now though. This episode's probably airing way past May. We're celebrating the fantastic performance of Katy Perry at the coronation of King Charles. But yeah, so the funeral march. We go down to there's Alfred standing there dutifully holding the said mask. They add in the detail though. We have Bruce's silhouette, and you see him prepping up. But noticeably, he's not got his normal belt. He's very specifically got the belt from Frank Miller's Year One, where Batman had kind of more of like a sagging pouch kind of belt.
Oh, God, I feel his pain. I've got that.
Alfred's there to clear it up, you know. I can't believe you got dumped and got a sagging pouch in 1 week, sir.
Oh, it's not going his way.
Yeah. It's an early symptom of McGregor syndrome, though. You should probably get yourself checked.
That's how he knew he had it as well. Yeah.
It's like my sack was always sort of saggy, though.
Come on. I thought, though, Bruce was yet again, being incredibly rude here, holding out his hand for Alfred to pass him the cowl. Go and get it. It's like 3 feet away.
Yeah. He's not even turning to face him.
Yeah.
Just putting his hand out and...
That's the thing. At least look the man in the eyes and say, "Could you pass me that cowl?"
Well, it is dramatic, though. Like, we need... This is a real, like, getting the vestments put on him kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah,
real,
totally.
like, this is a ceremony that's happening here.
It felt almost religious, yeah.
Yeah. I also
But
got...
also felt a bit like an executioner, I thought, getting prepped.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it is killing the old Bruce.
Totally. That is it's the executioner's head. Like, the mask is, like, it's like the executioner's hood going over his own face. I was very distinctly reminded, I don't know if you folks thought the same, but like just him putting out the hand like that and kind of waiting for someone to give him something. Not too, back in 93, not too far back in recent Batman memory at that point was, of course, the mirror, from 89.
Oh, sure.
So like, this is the Joker's hand, going out, waiting to and seeing his face for the first time. I was like, oh, it's a weird kind of like they're gonna go and like it's the same. Well, they're simpatico, the two characters, really, aren't they? So it's just the kind of parallel between Batman and the Joker, and they're both seeing the horrific things they've had to become. I'd say probably because it was such a massive thing, the '89 movie. It probably is a deliberate reference to it.
Oh, absolutely is, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing though, like I also want to note from the novelization in particular, but I love the way they put this, and it speaks a lot to Bruce's mentality, I guess. Back when he first receives the ring back from Andrea, where it says the young man stood motionless for the space of several heartbeats. In his mind's eye, he saw the portrait of his parents that had hung for years in the study of the mansion. Thomas and Martha stood stiffly erect, formal and unsmiling, their eyes seeming to say, "We told you." And it's like, so this guy really does have this kind of the specter of his parents. He genuinely believes they don't want him to be happy. They want him to dedicate his life to doing this.
Yeah.
It's like, what an insane burden to have over you.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It really is. It's like, we always joke around like, oh, Batman's nuts. Like, no, this guy's crazy. Like, this is really... Bruce, Alfred, now is the time for therapy. Like, now is the time you have to insist on, like, a sectioning. Because even Alfred's whole thing is like, oh, so what's with the bat motif? Master Bruce, you didn't have an idea before. Now it's all bats. What's that about? I'm like, well, when Andrea and I got engaged, all those bats flew out. And he's like, oh, that seems healthy.
That's a perfectly normal response. Yes.
It's like, it really is like, Alfred, I love you, man, but you are really failing in a massive way by not doing more right now. Like, this is the time we're supposed to step in. But yeah. And yeah, as it goes over, hands the mask to Bruce, and then we get the beginning of the dun 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 dun, and just really spine chilling kind of stuff. And as I was
it's really, really good. I was going to say well shot, but it's it's the equivalent of well shot for an animation, I suppose. It's just a lovely scene.
And just thematically, all kind of is my ongoing theory about the title. It is all coming up to this moment as well of like, well, Andrea is of course like as a phantasm herself, as a ghost from Bruce's past, but Bruce Wayne as a person now doesn't even really exist anymore. Like he was technically died in that alleyway when he was a kid, came back to life there, had a little bit of hope, and then Andrea broke his heart. And now he is literally standing here as a silhouette, like a ghost of a man holding a mask, the mask of the Phantasm. Some might say it's almost as if it has a double meaning, which is so much better.
Too much into it.
So much better to change the title from Masks. This is like, that would have been really lame in comparison. The Mask of the Phantasm. This just sounds so much more needlessly dramatic, but also fantastic.
Drama, darling.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, it's one of those moments, like those scenes. It's just like it all speaks for itself, really. Does anyone have any thoughts about minute 36 and anything any parting shots they want to get into it? Or
I'm noted out.
I was just thinking, and this is just sort of a follow up of just the uniqueness of this particular origin story of the bats really not being around fear. And I think that's a really interesting. I think this is a really interesting take on the mythology that I know that there's like significant comic book fans out there who have a tremendous amount of like background of the lore, but if you're really going off of more of just TV, animation, movies, just in comparison, I think this is just a very interesting take of it being about a vow and really like a brokenheartedness of a life that he could have had and somebody who's really self-denying happiness. And that's really the catalyst. And I think that's such an interesting counterpoint to a lot of the other like fear-based or, I think more violent kind of origins.
Yeah. There's always sort of interesting spins they have. There's several different kind of interpretations of, the bat motif over the years. There's one weirdly that I only read the book because Robert Pattinson brought it up, where he said one of his inspirations was a book called Batman Shaman. I was like, I've never heard of that. And it's like and it kind of does tie into this week as well, weirdly enough, because like those bats coming out from the crack is almost like there's a supernatural spirit here, kind of at play. This is God's hand stepping in, almost kind of. And in Shaman, there's a lot of stuff where like it's one of it's a Denny O'Neil story. It was like the first issue of Legends of the Dark Knight back in the 80s. And it's a story about like Bruce going off into deep into Alaska and discovering some of the native tribes and stuff there. And he nearly freezes to death on a mountain. And this is way before he's Batman. And he's healed by a shaman who's wearing a bat mask. Oh. And the kind of implication is that like there's a kind of the bat is a symbol of healing within the culture, and Bruce has all these visions of like the bat mask being a face, and then underneath the face being a mask, like the mask of a man, and then like, all the covers like a 5-issue arc, and all the covers are like the first cover is like a tribal mask breaking apart and Batman's face been underneath it. That mask breaking apart in issue 2 to have Bruce Wayne's face underneath Bruce Wayne's face, there being a skull, and then under the skull being Batman again, all this kind of thing. And there's a kind of thing, like, they get into it, like, a little bit. But, like, there's a lot of stuff within, apparently, Native American mythology about, like, bats are symbolic of, like, healing and renewal.
That's cool.
And, like, hope for the future, that they're, like, a real totem animal.
So he sees it as healing for him.
Yeah, healing for him, or there's kind of allusions that there could be like a kind of like a spirit coming through him as well. Like the spirit of the literal shadow spirit of the bat is operating through Bruce Wayne.
I prefer like the idea that he's using it as like a kind of metaphor, not literally.
Yeah.
A spirit, but maybe. Yeah, that could be a fun side story.
Yeah, there's a whole big story arc in it where it's like there's an adventure and a guy steals the bat mask from the tribe and all this stuff, and then at the end they give the tribal bat mask to Bruce as a kind of thank you and stuff. But yeah, so all that kind of thing though. There's almost like other interpretations of it have been like supernatural spirits almost at play with why Bruce is Batman, or just like as you're saying, Molly, just like steering it away from violence and fear to more elements of like his heartbreak and stuff like that. And the kind of like the I think in this version of it, it's almost like I guess he saw those bats as an omen. Sorry, I said it again. Of inevitability, and he's just like, this is those bats were an indication of where things were going, and now he's literally staring at the face of a bat, been like, this is all it was ever gonna be, man, and getting ready to put it on. But yeah, just fantastic scene. Really love it. But the third thing's a little more lighthearted now. We do always ask the guests this season, folks, because BTAS was such a seminal sort of animated show when we were growing up. A lot of people of our generation, and up and down a little bit. We're asking the guests about like their other favorite cartoons from back when you were a little nipper.
I guess I was kind of thinking, because I was in my teens when Batman the Animated Series first came out. I didn't see the second half of the run for it. I saw the first half.
I'm still reeling from the idea that you like watched the show and then saw this movie and were like, that looks like Scooby-Doo to me.
Yeah, I know it's really absurd. Actually, I'm a little like but that was my reaction at the time. It was like, screw this, like fuck this.
I really desperately want to do an animation of like Bruce, the Phantasm, and the Joker running from like door to door in a hallway, and then like other random things popping out and stuff. It's like, we gotta get that crazy Phantasm.
That's what I thought it was going to be, and I was like, whatever, you guys, you're just being condescending. I don't want anything to do with this, but I'm glad it was proven wrong. But I really liked. I don't know if you all ever had Liquid Television. Liquid Television was on MTV here, and it was a lot of really interesting countercultural animation. Eon Flux got started that way. It was a silent animation, and then it got its own like series where there was vocals with it. I watched both, and so those were favorites of mine. Gargoyles. I don't know if you ever check that out. So let me see. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I watched a lot. Ghostbusters had an animated show, and then Thundercats I think was the other one that I really liked.
All my kind of stuff right there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched a lot of different cartoons when I was a lad, but I particularly wanted to talk about the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the mid-1980s.
Oh,
amazing.
Yeah. Which was a lot of fun, and actually kind of came up recently in the new Dungeons and Dragons film, Honor Among Thieves. There's at least one reference to it. There's for folks that have seen it, there's a part, I won't spoil it because I know it's still relatively new, but there's a part where the main characters, the main group, kind of encounter another group of adventurers, and they are clearly, by their costuming and the colors, they are clearly based on the group from this cartoon.
Amazing.
But, this was big because this came out right around the time when I'd first gotten into playing Dungeons and Dragons as a child, and then to have like a mainstream Saturday morning cartoon following that along was fun. Plus, it was just I think a good cartoon. Although I haven't seen it since the 80s, so I don't know how well it holds up. But I know I enjoyed it very much.
My advice though is all the stuff I liked that's from that era. When I try and watch it now, it's never good.
Yeah,
I tried watching the Ghostbusters cartoon; it was terrible.
I think it's best to leave it at the theme tunes. I think. The theme.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because one example is Underdog, and I was a huge fan of Underdog. when I was a child, and I have. And nowadays, it's you can get a DVD or Blu-ray set. They'll have the whole series, because now everything's streaming. But yeah, I picked up when it first came out. I picked up Underdog on DVD, like the complete series, and I think I watched like the first 3 episodes and put it away. It's like this is better in my memory than in reality.
My only knowledge of Underdog is just The Simpsons, of like them watching the Thanksgiving Day parade. And Bart been like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Underdog. What? Who the hell is that?" It's like, "Don't you know anything, boy?" And I was sitting there going, "No, I don't know who that is." Getting the vibe, it was just like, "Oh, people. I guess people like Homer's age would know who Underdog is, but like, it's got long relevancy." But yeah. I don't even know what Underdog looks like. So I'm going. Dare I look it up, Sean, or what's the deal?
I mean, you can look it up. Like just looking at him, he looks fine. So that's safe. You can look at Underdog, just don't watch it.
Yeah. But say like my steadfast advice is just to stick. If you have fond memories of that thing had a really good theme tune, only just watch the intro. That's all you need. Yeah. Like it's
yeah.
Again, like the intro to the Thundercats is one of the greatest things ever created by mankind.
And especially when the lyrics are literally just thunder, 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 cats.
But it's just so well animated. It looks like you're watching it like, this is the greatest thing in the universe. How could this show fail? And then the actual show starts. And you're like, oh, and there you go.
We will head off into the dark, dark night. One final time, would you both like to tell our listeners about projects you have or anything you want to plug? Doesn't even have to involve you anymore. Screw it. Who cares? It's up to you. Molly, you can go first this time.
Well, you can find me Cabin Minute Cast with Heidi Bennett, Escape from New York Minute with Eric Deutsch and Brad Mendenhall, and that's on growlermedia.com. On Twitter, I'm at Dharma Soda Pop, and then right now my ongoing project is producing it's like a crossroads of Western psychology and mindfulness and Dharma. It's called WednesdayWakeUp.com, and that's hosted by Gregory Maloof.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I didn't know about this one.
Yeah. We've got some. We're starting to get more guests on it, but in general, there's like guided meditations on there, lots of talks, and then we've kind of made friends with this publisher called Sounds True, and so we've also started bringing in different types of different authors, and so we're going to have another 2 who are going to be on here in the next month or so. So there's one coming up about Tibetan Book of the Dead. Yeah, awesome. So that's going to be really, really cool. Yeah, so there's interesting stuff, and there's Dr. Richard Schwartz was just on doing internal family systems, and if you don't know, like just hearing that, you're like, oh, what is that all about? But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting, and it actually has some applicability to Batman because it talks about different selves, and basically talking about how we. We just have different, it's not just one cohesive self. There's different selves within us, and you can talk to those selves and see what they need, and it's a very therapeutic approach, and so it's interesting.
You better spend that whole episode talking about Batman, or I'll be very upset.
It's already up, actually, so unfortunately we did not talk about Batman, but it has some crossover applicability here.
Listeners, check out that podcast, but not that episode. Out of spite. No, do listen to that. And Sean?
I do some stuff. I did a podcast similar to this one where I covered a film 1 minute at a time, or a movie, as you might say. But I covered the film Groundhog Day, and that's over at groundhogminute.com with my buddy Dave Pallas. We covered that all 1 minute at a time. And so, of course, and always my main site, you can find out about all the stuff that I'm up to at catandshawn.org.
I love that you have like just your names as your web address, because it harkens back to a different era of the internet when people would just make a page about themselves on like GeoCities. And they'd be like, here's me. I like to do this. And it's kind of like it made me think of that in a really positive way, because the internet used to not be a hellscape. So, it used to be quite nice, actually.
Look up your favorite fan theories about Underdog. So easy back then. But
There you go. I'll add an underdog page to this. Yeah, it actually started when we're earlier talking about proposals and marriage and stuff. That actually started off as our wedding site when we were planning the wedding. It's something I didn't mention at the time when I talked about the proposal story. I didn't mention at the time I was unemployed. Between when I had put the down payment down on the engagement ring and the time I was actually able to propose, I was laid off from my job. I was made redundant.
God damn it.
So I actually wasn't working. And while we were planning the wedding, I would go to different sites that we were considering for hosting the reception and take a bunch of pictures and then upload them to this website. And then Catherine, while she was at work, could go could kind of log into the website and look at the pictures and say like, oh, this place looks good or not. And then later when we were starting sending out the invites, we had like information about like hotel stuff for, for guests who were traveling and so forth. So it started off as we'd gotten the domain specifically for the wedding planning, and then we kept it. So yeah, we still.
That's
have
a
it.
brilliant idea. I love that. Yeah. And I suppose people have ripped off your idea now. They have all these goddamn apps to do all of this. And that's not got the personal touch.
I was gonna say it's funny because for a while, because this was, we're old, we're ancient. I'm practically dust. I may disappear as soon as this recording is over. But when I was doing this, a lot of the places I visited, they didn't have their own website. So for a while, our site, or my site would be the top result if you did a search. If you went to Google or something and search for some of these. Some of these venues, my site would be the top result.
Awesome! Holy crap!
And I would hear from people. I would have a guest book before the internet became a hellscape overridden with spam bots and so forth. I had a little guest book, and I would hear from like complete strangers just saying, "Oh, I was thinking of hosting an event at this place, and your site came up with all these pictures, and thank you very much."
Oh, that's really cute that people thought, "Oh, I want to ask this person's opinion and advice."
Yeah.
Oh.
Although to be fair, I am also myself developing an engagement app. It's just called "What Do You Say?" And it's basically and it's just a picture of a ring, and you just send that to someone.
If you want to be, you don't want to be a nobody, do you? Dear listeners, you want to be a somebody. And if you want to be a somebody, you'll tune in to Bat Minute again next week on Monday. New episode, new guests. See you then, Batmites.
And thus is born this weird figure of the night, this avenger of evil, the Batman. It's the dawn of the dark night deep within the Batcave, and Alfred is aghast at the transformation that's made. But as we flash back from the first flight of the new masked-up monstrosity, which old asthmatic scofflaw is searching to shut down Perspective City? We're back in yesteryear's tomorrow next week, folks. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Must top, die Feta